We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Cali Sportsman, WDC, is now on your radio. Coming live from the Bay, yeah, that way. They talk sports all day, LA. Dropping knowledge, high school, college, trying to score, play by play. NFL, NBA, NHL, that's right, you name it. They gon' bring it to you live. Talking sports and entertainment, from the famous and the, you name it. Cover all sports, from the football field to the basketball court. Thanking y'all for y'all support. Now tell a friend to tune in every Monday at 5. Best believe they going live at the lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down. Got the latest in sport news and the greatest interviews at the lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down. Got the latest in sport news and the greatest interviews. We at the lounge. The Sport Lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down. The Sport Lounge. The Sport Lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Sports Lounge Live. I'm your host and moderator. I'm Farron, a.k.a. WDC. I'd like to thank you for tuning and listening in today. As always, we have a very spectacular show for you right here on the Sports Lounge Live on Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific. So make sure you catch us here. Social media, Twitter, WDC Sports Lounge Live, Instagram, the Sports Lounge Live, or the Sports Lounge Live, hashtag Sports Lounge Live, hashtag SLL, and you will be able to find us all the latest highlights, all the posts from myself and the Sports Fanatics that you see on the deck here. Make sure you go to Facebook as well, facebook.com, the Sports Lounge Live. And I'm not by myself today, so we're going to introduce the deck.
Yes, sir.
Batters up.
Well, let's just go ahead and start from this side of the table, like always. My name is Fredo Cervantes, and like I said, I will tell you the truth and nothing but the truth on any topic you like. And also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fredo Cervantes, FREDO CERVATES.
Fredo.
Yes, sir.
And the one and only, the magnificent.
Oh,
What's happening?
Marsha. Oh, it's Marsha Wietecha from the Born to Talk radio show. This is double duty today.
Yeah.
But when I heard what the subject was going to be about, and my buddy Farron over here said, "Hey, Marsha, Cappy Pondexter's coming in the studio. I can put on my Sparks shirt. I can
number
talk
one
a
Sparks
little
fans out there.
b-ball."
Let's
So
go.
I'm delighted.
Well, thank you for coming out. Hang
Welcome.
out with
Join
us.
me.
Welcome,
Thanks, guys.
yes.
Thanks a bunch.
you.
Pleasure. Well, obviously, y'all know that the deck is lit, and this is Double O, bringing you more than X's and O's. And you can catch me on my Instagram, O_Moreno_1989.
This is Louis Luwap.
Luwap.
I actually came up with my catchphrase. Actually.
Oh, really? You got
Yes,
it?
yes.
Quiet. And action.
And I stay doing it for the culture. Shout out to you guys. You guys killed me yesterday. It was a great halftime.
Amazing.
Well, the whole weekend,
The
Quavo
whole
too.
Quavo balling up.
It's like Migos took over for some reason.
Vicious block on who was it? Rachel.
That was nasty.
She is 5 foot nothing, Quavo, and you just
Wow.
came up from behind her. She had no idea he was coming.
Hey, no respect.
That's the culture.
That's doing it for the culture. That's right.
Go easy? No.
Go hard.
Don't go easy.
Oh,
That's
what
why
a
he won
celebrity.
MVP.
Yes, that's why he won MVP. Exactly, Quavo.
Play
my
the
man.
game. All right. So let's get this party started. I mean, we got a great guest coming up on the second half of the show, but the first half we go around the deck. Fredo's got some highlights for us, so we're going to chime in. But before I do that, wait. Hold on.
Hold up.
On the line, we got my man all the way 3 hours ahead of time. You live at What's the Count? Oh, he just dropped off the line. Man, Sports Law,
Sports
man.
Law,
He'll be
man.
back. He'll call back.
He'll call back.
All right, so what you got for us, Fredo, for the
Well,
highlights,
man, let's go ahead and start off with this amazing weekend that Los Angeles had the chance to host. The NBA All-Star Weekend here for the first time since 2011. The last time we saw Kobe Bryant in the floor.
Right.
Staples Center in the All-Star uniform. But, I mean, what a weekend it was. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys were all excited. What was your guys' favorite highlight throughout the weekend? Start off with Marsha.
Yes,
Marsha,
special guest.
Well, I have to say I like the slam dunk contest. I like Lisa Leslie as being one of the judges.
Yeah.
Okay,
Of course.
I did like that. She's a superstar.
She's a champ.
She is a champ.
She can dunk, people. She dunked. She was the first woman to dunk in a professional basketball.
Absolutely.
Not scrimmage, right?
No, but she was dunking in high school too. I mean, she's really outstanding. I liked the 3-point
three-point shootout?
The 3-point shootout was probably the best for me. I just could not believe how they could stand, shoot, and just keep getting them in there. I love that
It's
part.
all in the rotation.
It was fabulous. I loved that.
For me, I actually liked the All-Star game. Like at first, I was skeptical about the whole new setup, but at the end, like the last 5 minutes were pretty competitive for an All-Star game, and it looked like you saw like traps, you saw full court press, and so it was a good balance between entertainment and competitiveness.
How did it end? With a defensive play?
Right.
It ended with a defensive play. They didn't even get a shot off. They closed them in that
That was
corner.
a bad possession. Bad.
Curry held on to the ball way too long.
It was great defense.
Yeah, that was
great
You saw
defense.
Harden was like this for like 5
And even
seconds.
Thompson too. Klay
Yeah,
Thompson too.
Yeah, they were just looking at him, and then at the end, who he gives it to?
DeRozan.
Right, when he's pinned in the corner with Durant.
And
it's
that
like,
was a dumb. I mean, it was just an awful possession for them. And then you just saw who took it serious and who didn't.
Right.
I mean, you saw Curry eating popcorn.
right.
Well, LeBron was on the floor,
Yeah.
like trying to kick to bring his team back.
It's just funny to see that, but I guess that just shows you. I mean, a lot of people. Curry was taking some heat for that earlier today. I mean, for everything that I was seeing in the sports world. But I mean, I don't want to give him any heat. I mean, it's just an all-star game.
I mean,
and
it was
you just-
entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It was entertainment. It was competitive.
So
That's what we asked for, right?
and-
That's what we wanted a competitive game. We didn't want to blow out like
Right.
200 points. We wanted to be competitive, and it was. It was a one-possession game, won by a team that came back from 15 points to win a exhibition game. That
Well,
everybody. I mean,
Didn't they have like a charity thing where?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
they
they
were
did.
donating
They
money
put
as
up
well.
360,000.
Was that the first year this year?
That was that was the
Yeah.
extra incentive that they had put up. So I mean, based on like you said, social media, you know what was being said out there, that people love the new format, and hopefully it sticks around. They might want to see maybe the world versus the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, when you realize how many
That would be amazing.
how many
That's
All-Stars
a good
are
thing.
international players,
Yeah.
you know? So it's
Well, that one was actually good too. The Rising Stars.
the Rising Stars was
Right.
good, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was good entertainment value too. I liked the way what's his face? Kevin Hart did the announcement.
Oh, yeah,
that was
man.
entertaining. You know,
Yes.
that was.
You realize, yeah, it's entertaining.
Oh,
and
it was entertaining. I thought it was.
No, it was hilarious too. It was really funny. I mean, one of the ones that I saw when he told LeBron, he's like, he's the guy that puts all the name tags on his phone.
Oh, yeah.
You know who did not think he was funny? Was Kyrie Irving, when he kept on saying that he thinks the world
He's
is
like,
flat.
now there's a man who thinks the world is flat, so you can't really take him that seriously. Like Kyrie, the earth's not flat. And Kyrie was just not looking at it,
Yeah.
not having it.
It was funny, but it was an amazing weekend in LA. It was really good. One of the things that was came out today, TNT released ratings, the numbers. Apparently this year was a little lower than last year's. I don't know why that
The
was.
Olympics.
Hey,
The Olympics, yeah, the
A lot
Olympics.
going on.
that could have taken over.
The Olympics.
And there was a lot going on also in LA aside from sports. Like there were so many like entertainment stuff, like
Yeah.
promotional things going on. So it's like if you weren't doing the NBA All-Star, like there were other things going on.
And one of the
Yeah.
biggest markets, you have everybody going there live instead of staying at home and watching it.
Right,
So
right.
that's another big
Oh, yeah, of
thing.
course, 'cause it was in
It's
the
the
city.
LA market.
Yeah, we got together with a bunch of our friends, and it's not like the Pro Bowl where people don't care. We know it's an exhibition, but there's entertainment, you know, so you make a big thing out of it. You
People
know,
love
you might not have those
celebrities.
individual households, but you do have. I mean, just basing off social media, it was the number one trending thing worldwide. You know, the whole game.
Yeah.
NBA.
So you know, NBA, I think they're doing it. Last thing though for me was LeBron James with the host from a Fox News show. Laura
Oh,
Ingraham.
yeah.
Whoever that lady is.
Yeah, so
Laura
you guys
Ingraham.
saw that, right? So
Yeah.
LeBron had the interview with Carrie Champion. It's like a 15-minute interview, like in a Lyft ride. It was like an Uber promotion.
Yeah.
It's like a promotion for Uber, right? So, and he mentions some political issues, right? His political stance and how he uses his
Shut up and
position. Yeah,
dribble.
exactly. And she has the audacity to tell him to shut up and dribble the ball. Like, I am not taking my advice from a high school dropout who gets paid $100 million to dribble the ball. And I might be paraphrasing that.
Right.
Sorry, I quote you correctly. But
But that's exactly what it. It's the same message.
But I love the fact that, and this is turning a lot of people LeBron's way, is we saw him in the All-Star game take it seriously, and then you see him when he has to put himself in that position as, I'm the best paid athlete in the world. If everyone looks to me, I'm not going to stay silent. And he straight out said that I don't know who she is. I didn't know who she was. So I guess she won because now I know who she is, But I love that LeBron James is he's realizing now that his career, even though it looks sometimes like he's still at his peak, I mean, he's 34, 35 years old.
He's having a very efficient year.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of mileage on his body, and even though he's in great shape, at some point, he's got to think long term. And I like this LeBron James that he's taking, that he's not afraid to, because there were other times where we questioned, like, if LeBron was as vocal about certain things, like as maybe Colin Kaepernick. But this weekend it proved to me LeBron, he's ready. He's taking that social justice step, and he's running with it. He's running with that torch.
Let me clear the line right here. Sports Log, you live, man.
Sports Log.
Yo.
Oh, did he drop it again?
Nah, he's right there hanging out. What's up, man?
Mute button.
He's technical difficulties.
Too many stuff on it with his hands.
Technical difficulties.
Boston.
What's happening, sir? How you doing?
What's shaking, fellas? How you doing tonight?
Cool, man.
Chilling.
Cool.
Talking about this All-Star weekend. What's the highlight? What you think?
It was a good All-Star weekend, definitely. A lot of people liked that game. They thought the format was pretty good. It just goes back to that. Everybody's kind of turning the fantasy twist on these sports. Football's kind of gone that way now. Basketball, you got these guys kind of doing the same thing.
Right. There were so many contested three-pointers. Like Joel Embiid was taking like 30-foot threes from damn.
He made what, 2 of them? He made 2 out of like 5. I think he shot.
Yeah, so he shot his average about 29%, which is his average, 20%. But
that's Bieber. He's just trying to show his range.
Yeah, I thought Rihanna was trying to take a she literally took a shot.
Was she? I didn't see if she was there, but I'm pretty sure she was.
It's All-Star weekend, right? She had to be in the city.
She's always at every game.
Yeah.
Hey, Sports Log, how's your city, man, since Super Bowl, man?
Oh, come on.
Are you guys quiet over there still? Are you recovering?
We're laying low. It's tough being favored for the next Super Bowl right after you lose. It doesn't come around often. No, like I said, hey, that was a great game.
You go right into basketball.
It's been rough. A lot of people are hurting, but I mean, like I said, I'm still living off the last year's Super Bowl. That was one of the greatest wins.
You know what, man? Get off the line.
He's talking to
He's replaying that game.
Hey, but honestly, it was.
Stop making
It was
fun
a
of
good
us.
game.
Lane Johnson chiming up, and I don't know what was up with that parade. I'm not even getting into that kid with the horse.
the horse.
Come on, enjoy it. Enjoy it. You earned it. Enjoy the championship.
Philly one?
The Philly one, yeah.
Have a pretty good team next year.
Come on, don't be so bitter, man.
Whoa.
Don't be
Hey,
so
hey,
bitter.
relax over here.
Don't be so bitter, Sports Log. Everything. So you guys are doing all right out there, man?
Good things still happen.
Right.
You guys are doing all right out there, man?
What was that?
I said you guys doing all right out there, man?
Yeah, no, hey, we got the Bruins to look forward to. They look really good up until the last game.
Yeah.
But the Celtics, I'm hoping this spring. I mean, it was like a 9-day break here, was it? But hopefully that works out well for a lot of teams. They look like, except for last night, a lot of the big players need some rest.
Right.
This is a really late break, 60 games into the break. That doesn't really seem like a midway All-Star situation.
Yeah, and you
kind
saw
of like a highlight show last night.
You saw all the injuries at the end of the break, kind of with 3 All-Stars going out. Was it Wall, Love, and who else that went out right before the All-Star?
Cousins, Boogie. Porzingis too. I didn't see Porzingis yesterday.
He was out too.
They had him out there. I didn't see Porzingis out there yesterday.
Oh,
he's the one with the worst injury.
Wear and tear on the late break in the season.
Right.
It's a long journey.
Cool deal. Hey, well, Sports, we're going to take a quick break because we got a couple more highlights to take on, and then we'll be right back, all right? So don't go anywhere.
All right.
All right, this is the Sports Lounge Live. I'm your host and moderator. I'm WDC, a.k.a. Farron. I want to thank you again for tuning and listening in. Catch us on social media, # the Sports Lounge Live, everywhere out there on social media. Follow us. If you have any comments, you want to be a sports fan, come live on the deck with us. Just hit us up on the social media, and we'll respond back to you and get that interview set up. So, again, we appreciate you right here, LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk. Shout us out.
He is cooking in the short season. The Giants win 12-7. From their first season beginning
Yes, sir. We're back here at Sports Lounge. Myself, Fredo. We got the whole full deck here. We still got Mr. Boston on the line in here.
He's
Sports
still
log.
here. Sports log's still here.
Sports log.
Did he take a little break?
That
Is he
mute
crying
button,
out
man.
there?
That mute button.
That
The mute button working?
Tight. Gotta put some oil on that mute button.
Every time.
That
At least
mute
I didn't
button.
disconnect it.
Yeah.
It's a
yeah,
win.
good.
It's a win.
Yeah, we good. Thank you. All right.
So one of the things, one of the other topics we wanted to go ahead and talk about here on the deck is the new format that Adam Silver brought up to the table over the weekend. I mean, it's something that they've been discussing over the past couple of months already, and it'll probably be over a year. The new format, the playoff format, the 1-16, it's a mixture. Instead of having the West and the East 1-8, now having the 1-16. I personally think it's a bad idea. I think it is. I was listening to Adam Silver talking about it, saying it might be a problem with traveling. I think that's the last problem there's going to be, the traveling aspect, because, I mean, you could travel because there were one of the things they were saying is Boston and Portland. That's the scenario right now.
Right, the logistics of traveling
So,
between
doing
all
that,
these
I mean,
cities.
that's still
right.
not bad. I mean, because
No, they take 9-game road trips and they knock all of the East Coast out in one trip.
What is
they do
it?
it now.
I mean, I haven't flew through that way, but I'm guessing it's like 5 hours, 4 or 5
well,
hours.
yeah, it's more. It's like you cross the time zone and then it's a time. It's like when you're coming
Yeah.
back. It's a trip when you're coming back because you're taking a 3-hour flight. You leave at 1 and you arrive at 1, but your body knows that it's 3. You know, so it takes time to get acclimated.
Yeah, but I
It's
mean,
that.
they do that on
That's
the
what it
normal
is.
basis throughout the season, so I don't think that's an issue. But I still
Are,
think
are they changing the divisions or is it just a playoff format?
just a playoff
Just
format.
so
One of the
it's
things he was not specific on is whether you get the top 8 of the West and top 8 of the East, and then do the formats, or if there's, like, for example, the West is just overloaded. If the West has 10 teams that are having
the
better
top 16
records,
teams.
yeah.
Right.
So he wasn't specific on that part, which is still a little confusing about it. But I'm against it. I don't think it's a good idea, because then that kind of ends the whole the
Well, I mean, I guess the only thing that I think would end would be like maybe some divisional rivalries, like, you know, but even then I look at football and I look at, like, man, like, that's what people used to say about football, like, oh, you're gonna have all these rivalries that when you're reshuffling divisions, but if it's for the betterment of everyone, then then by all means. But the only thing I would see a problem is if you're an Eastern Conference owner right now and you're like, wait a minute. Right now, all I have to do is get one of the top 8 spots in the East, and the East is kind of weak.
Yeah.
You know, I can get my team into that 8th or 7th spot, but if you're telling me that I have to battle with the West,
Yeah.
you know, and again, another thing is how are you going to distribute the games? Like, how are you going to make it so that, like, someone who's playing mostly Eastern Conference teams, how do they get to fight for the same spot that somebody who's playing a harder schedule with Western Conference teams? So I think a lot of teams are going to be up in arms, like, oh, why do I have to, you know, get a much harder schedule and face for the same, you know, there's a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
But I do, if they were to figure it out and make it work where everyone's happy, then by all means, because sometimes that first or second round, sometimes the Eastern Conference playoffs are just unbearable. They're unbearable.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the West, it's that 1 versus 8 is like, my God, like the 8 seed is pushing the number 1 seed because they're just so competitive. I think you make it a little more competitive. TV wins because you have more people watching. You know, the owners win because it raises the value of their teams. You just got to figure out the logistics. So
but one of the things is they already have the TV deals. I mean, ESPN is already the number 1. They broadcast all the Eastern Conference. TNT does all the West Conference.
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. They would have to that would have to be
restructure deals,
yeah,
do
because you wouldn't
something.
have anybody with just the Eastern Conference. You'd have
I
the
don't know.
playoffs.
I like it. I think it's.
I like it too, but you just gotta make. You can't make it where it's just something that you just throw out
Yeah,
there.
you
And
gotta
it's just,
really
you
look
gotta really
into
look
it.
at it, because there's gonna be a lot of things like even like college football. Remember when everybody were all asking for a playoff, and now we're saying, well, there's still even something kind of wrong with how does Alabama get in? You know, you get me. You have those things where not everyone's gonna agree on scheduling, on traveling, on someone's gonna do the math and be like, hey, how come I had to travel 15,000 miles and that team only traveled 12,000 miles, you know? So
Does Adam Silver get to make that decision? So
Well, I think it's according to like the player.
Isn't there a board? Or
there is a
something?
board, yeah,
there's
but
a
him
voting.
proposing it is big
Yeah.
enough. That makes it. I think that's why we're talking about it, because
Yeah.
he
Yes.
proposed
And
it.
it seems like some people are really for it, but of course, there's a lot of things you got to really look at to see if it's something that's going to work in the long run.
I feel like, honestly, if we could put the top 16 talented teams in the playoffs, it's just gonna give better better product for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of snubs that were left out of the West that you put those teams
In the
playoffs,
East?
and it's fun to watch.
And they make it to the semifinals
Right.
probably in the East.
And even the competitiveness, like you were saying earlier, you just make teams have to go out there and sign free agents. Like how many stars from the East came over to the West, right? Jimmy Butler, Paul George, and you saw both sides, and you're like, yeah, they have talent, but East has developing talent, and the West.
The West has all the big talent, like your Hardens.
But
your
what
Paul-
happens to the, say, 6th, 7th, and 8th Eastern seed? Those teams might get kicked out because they won't even get the chance to if the Western gets 12 of the best teams in there and the East gets the other team. So it
Right.
kind of makes it unfair for the Eastern Conference because, I mean,
No,
they're not
I
so
think
good.
what's unfair is you have these owners who are making all this money, and you have a team like the Atlanta Hawks who's in a big market, and they're not spending any money on their team this year.
No.
But they're doing all these crazy things to put fans in the seats, so you buy concessions, but it's like you're not even putting a decent product out here, but I'm still buying what you're selling. So now if you're telling me that they have to work harder for a playoff team, as a fan of Atlanta, I'm like, hey, you know what? If that's what's going to make them, buck up,
competitive, yeah.
buck up and be more competitive, then by all means, it's not going to be acceptable anymore just making it to the 8th seed of the East because our division is weak and we can do that. We can make it on a $50 million budget when out West everyone's spending
And
the
also
full 70, 75, 90.
Also, the way the draft's now like being structured, right? And now if they have it like this, you as a team,
you can't tank.
Yeah, you can't tank, and you have to compete.
And you have to compete.
Right, exactly. Because at the end of the day, if you continue to put out these mediocre squads, yes, you could wait. But look what Milwaukee did. They were a playoff team last year, and they reset the button. Right, they let go of Jason Kidd. They have talent, but like you said, are they really committing and developing it, finding the right coach? Right, so that's the thing is you won't be able to set that reset button so quickly as before. Because like you said, the East wasn't.
Or here we have Clipper fans in here. Look at what the Clippers were a couple years, even last year. You guys had Chris Paul. Lob City was in full effect.
Yep.
Now Lob City is dead, right? R.I.P. Lob City.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like they're building towards the future. It looks like DeAndre's going to opt out, and it doesn't look. What are they trying to do?
But they're right there at the playoff run, right? They're
Right.
Well,
It's
I mean,
another
they're
tax-
still alive, but
It's another tax write-off season.
it's still a tax write-off season.
It was discouraging, I think, for all of us that are Los Angeles people, that the greatest contributors to the All-Star game were the cheerleaders.
Yeah, we had a single,
Not a
not a
single.
single. We had the Laker in the dunk contest.
I
He was traded.
I feel Lou Will was actually snubbed. I felt
Lou Williams should have been
I
a.
do too.
he should have been an All-Star. If there was any time a six-man should have been an All-Star, it should have been him.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the things you got to look at is he's not looked as. I mean, that's probably the number one thing. He's not looked as a all-star player. He's looked as that 6th man coming off the
But-
bench.
But he still holds
But
the same value.
He's still the
Yeah,
best. He's the best player on that team.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
He's the
He's
best.
like-
We can't deny that.
No.
And
His performance this year is, in my view, a top 20 performance as
Yeah.
a player. And it's also like anyone that coaches teams, like off the bench, if you get the minutes and you show production, we should show that reward, because you know how so many young kids want to be in that starting lineup, right? But that 6-man is a huge
that
role.
would have been
Yeah.
huge.
Coming
That
off the
would've been
bench.
huge. That's like a sacrifice to the team. You're like, I get it. It's better if you guys start with this,
Right.
more defensive minded squad, because honestly, Lou Williams is not.
Look what Iguodala
But-
did coming
but
off the
look what he
bench for the
does when-
Warriors.
Look what he does when he comes on the court, though. Like he
Yeah.
lights it up for 50.
But one
like,
of the
does.
biggest things that you got to look at too is his fan base. He probably didn't have that fan base to get the votes. Because
Right.
apparently, at the end of the day, it comes up to the votes.
But they still had the
Whoever gets more
coach's
votes.
decision. The coaches.
Yeah, but
They
I
put in
mean,
Dragic.
Was
Right.
it?
Yeah, they put in
They put in
Dragic
Dragic.
as a replacement.
Yeah,
I
see, you
guess-
see, I was about to
yeah.
tell you. Do you know who the
Wait, well,
look at the
okay,
bottom
now I look
all-star
at
and tell me
that.
Lou
They get to
Williams shouldn't have
choose,
been in there.
But okay, go. He's what? He's still with Miami. I'm pretty sure Miami's doing decent enough
But
right
so are
now.
the Clippers. The Clippers are
But
doing
he's
decent.
looked at as a starting point guard. He's a starting
See,
point guard.
that's
He's
just-
not. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
other thing you
that's
got to
the
look at.
that's
He's a
the
starting point
misconception.
guard.
You look at the numbers, though. You look at the numbers that Lou Williams is putting up.
Yeah, of
his
course.
minutes.
Oh, any
his
day
starting
I'll
minutes,
go with Lou
those
any
are-
day over Dragic.
Yeah.
Because he could shoot, he could do a lot better than
Mhm.
Dragic. But it's the role they're playing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's like you said. Well, at the end of the day, he comes off the bench. He
Yeah.
doesn't start games, And even though he's in LA, it would have been nice to see somebody from LA.
Yeah, that would have been.
all
It
those
would've
jerseys
been.
and not one Clipper or
No.
Laker jersey
Right.
the whole weekend.
So, no, we
had Ingram. We had Brandon Ingram.
we lost so many people. We lost Jamal Crawford. We lost JJ Redick. We lost people that were really important
JJ Redick.
to
You guys-
us as Clipper fans. We were always $1 short. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We'd get so far and then we would tank. But we were exciting and we were competitive. And I don't think that most of us understood, I'll just speak for myself, that there was such a discord between Blake and Chris. You know, and there were times, you know what, I became a Clipper fan because of Blake Griffin. I really did. That's when I started going. After he redshirted, I followed. I love NCAA basketball. Don't start me on that subject. I love NCAA basketball. I've been to 2 Final Fours. I love basketball. I love women's basketball. And I was disappointed that, but you know, it happens in every sport. Whoever would have thought, now, this is a long time ago, way before you guys were probably following hockey, but that Wayne Gretzky would ever leave his team.
He was with the Edmonton Oilers, right? Yeah,
and then he came to the Kings, and we thought we had died and gone to heaven. So there's no team loyalty anymore. So just when you think you've got the right team, then you guys traded anyway.
Right. You can't have Kobe's and Tim Duncans anymore.
We had even in LA we had Kobe and Shaq, and at least we got to keep Kobe, and then Kobe. You guys had Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, who were this dynamic team, and it looked now that you mention it, looking back, and I'm pretty sure we all looked at Kobe and Shaq like they were a lovable duo, and they always like. But now that we look back, we're like, dang, Kobe and Shaq
everything's leaky.
Yeah, exactly, and same thing. Chris and Blake, I thought they were like best buds. You see him out on the court, Chris is lobbing these beautiful passes, and he's catching them out of the air and just slamming him dunk, Lob City. And meanwhile, I'm over here a Laker fan, and I'm witnessing Kobe getting injured, Dwight Howard, complaining, Steve Nash being injured, and I'm like, man, we almost had Chris Paul. Like,
oh yeah, that's your bites me till this day, man. I can't. Well, because it was like it went on for at least 3-4 hours, like 3-4 hours. Laker fans thought we had Chris Paul for 3-4 hours,
and now to see him first get traded in the offseason. And then you trade Blake Griffin. And then it's like, okay, then it's like, what is this, a fire sale? You guys are just letting go of everyone. You guys dismantled your team.
But at the same time, I mean, believe it or not, the Clippers actually got a little younger, better. I mean, I guess more.
I like what they're doing.
Yeah.
I like what they beat Boston. They beat Boston last week.
For the Sports Log.
Yeah,
mentioned Boston.
Who hasn't beaten Boston? They were
in Boston.
I mean, we've just had a bad couple of weeks here. We're impressed. They fell down to the Raptors. Come on.
Maybe this much needed break is going to do you guys some good.
Well, Sports Log, real quick. What do you think about the 1-16 playoff format? You didn't get your time to chime in here.
I'm not against it. I mean, it might help encourage things for the playoffs. Not that they really need it, but I think they're just trying to maybe eliminate teams that that are sub 500, don't have winning records. It's pro positive for the league. So the playoffs will maybe get a pickup off of it.
But I mean, it's going to be interesting, like Fredo said. You got to see how they're going to implement it. If they're going to do it just like 1-16 ranking, or if you're going to take all the teams together and then just like put them like in some sort of like bracket style thing where you rank them 1-16 and you put 1 versus 6. That'll be interesting, because before we had the one team in the East facing the A team. Now, what are you going to have, the one team facing the 16? Is there going to be that disparity? Is it going to be like almost like NCAA, like one bracket, like one bracket? You have one region, it'd be like the West region, and you have 1-16. You have Golden State or I don't know, Cleveland at the top, and then you'd have like a Utah Jazz or maybe like an Atlanta Hawks if they could ever get their things together, But I mean, only Atlanta because like Gucci Mane, my boy Gucci loves the Hawks. He's always there, loyal, kind of like a. Who was it for the Billy Crystal?
Billy Crystal.
For the Clippers, who would be there even when you guys had
Clipper Darryl,
Clipper Darryl candies back then. But he was there. That was their Jack, And you have such a short window in the NBA to be competitive. Now look at the Clippers. You guys, they could have gotten over that hump.
So close.
Marsha, you mentioned earlier about the loyalty, right? And so, do you think that people are rooting for the uniforms or the players nowadays?
Oh my gosh. The uniforms or the players?
Yeah,
honey, I hope it's not the uniforms. I mean, I'd like to think it's not the uniforms. Yeah. I'd like to think that those of us that are true fans, we didn't just start following NBA players. We knew those guys when they were college players. Yeah. Some of those guys went to high school, went to my high school at Westchester High, Trevor Ariza. Some of these kids,
Champion Laker.
you know, I'm a local person, so I have followed some of these kids from Westchester straight through into the pros. So for me, I'm going to follow the player.
Yeah.
I'm always a little. It's kind of like in the old days. You're a Dodger fan forever. You used to always hear as you went into Dodger Stadium, got to have a program. You know, yeah, got to have a program. Who's on the team? Right? So it's kind of the way it is now too. You know, who's on the team? Who's playing? You know. Where's Kevin Love? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, well where's Westbrook? Oh yeah, who's
Where's
there?
he at now?
You know, who's injured? Who's not injured?
Blake is in Detroit. I'm a Detroit Piston fan as well, and now we got Blake. It's like, man, from L.A. to Detroit. It's
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
I'm loving it because of the two of my teams, but still. It's like,
Oh, do you follow the Pistons?
What is he gonna do?
You like
yeah,
the Pistons?
Yeah, I like the Pistons. Yeah.
That's you. So you got Stanley over there too. So that's a U of
Stanley
A
Johnson's
guy.
a good
You know,
kid.
we're like I said, that they're building, but it's to have Blake go from L.A. to Detroit.
And they
it's
got
like,
Jackson coming back too.
It's like really,
Reggie.
How do you manage that?
Oh, I thought that you weren't going to say Phil, but then that's
No,
like
no.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
Phil's
I
days are gone.
think
I think kids these days, like with just like all the social media, I feel like they follow a lot of just athletes. Like Curry right now has so many people cheering for Golden State. Like in LA, like you see all these little kids. They're not talking about Lakers. They're talking about Curry.
Some Thunder fan.
Right.
They left OKC and went to Golden State when Kevin Durant went because you know you were a Thunder fan, but it was mostly because Durant.
Right.
You know, and you liked Westbrook too because he was on Durant's team. But if your guy was Durant and he goes to Golden State, there's a lot of people who
people are becoming Timberwolves fans.
I don't want to throw my name out there, but that was me. 'Cause I'm a KD fan. It was a bad choice. It was a bad thing.
I used to be accused of that. I still to this day. I'm a Tom Brady guy. You know, like I'm a Raider fan. You know, but if it's Tom Brady against the Raiders, like it is, I'm torn, but I'm kind of leaning towards Brady because Brady's my guy. Like that's the guy who I grew up and made football exciting for me. My brother was a Peyton Manning guy, you know. So even then we rooted for guys, even though we had our players, because there's some guys that transcend, you know, even your team, and it's just the love of the game. You're like, my God, like,
where all the Heat fans at? Because where all the Heat fans at, right?
Remember, all the Golden State fans were Heat fans. You know,
LeBron left, and all these Heat fans just disappeared, right?
Yeah, you know what? I don't hate it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't hate it, you know, because you know you have all these the owners. The owners are the ones who benefit from us blindly following the team.
Of course,
and if we blindly follow the team and the owners don't do anything, then they still get money in their pockets because hey, we're still coming through the doors, you know. But you got to give me a star at least. Like I can follow your team, but give me a star.
But
you know?
It also depends on like what kind of culture you grow up in. If you grew up in a Laker house, you're gonna be a Laker fan, you know, unless you know there's something in that house where you just want to be the rival.
Oh yeah,
that random one.
Right. The one walks
here.
in with the red, white, and blue when everyone's in gold and purple. Right.
I mean, there's some things you can't help though. Like for example, like our niece, she knows we're Laker fans, but if we ask her to name any basketball player, she can only name one. Steph Curry.
Right.
That's it. Like so to her, who is she a fan of? She's Steph Curry. She liked Kobe. She had her Kobe jersey when she was younger. But now I ask her who her favorite basketball player, and she says it's Steph Curry.
And why do you suppose she likes him so much? The way he chews on his mouth guard? What is it?
I asked her, and honestly, she says it's the kids at school, the little kids who play basketball. That's all. That's the only people. That's the only person they talk about. She sees the jersey, you know. And then his little daughter Riley Curry. She's on TV, you know, and in these little social media
marketable.
videos. Yeah,
he's very marketable.
He's a handsome looking young man.
He comes from a nice family.
He's from, yeah, his wife has a cooking show, like you know.
Right.
She's
but even his parents.
Right.
Yeah, his dad was an NBA player.
Yeah.
So he is very marketable. Of course, they're gonna put him out there, and he's gonna draw a lot of people to the sport because of the way he plays. It's the most entertaining form of basketball.
And arguably, he's the best point guard in the league today. Arguably.
But unarguably the best shooter in the league.
Yeah,
right.
Unarguably the best shooter in the league, and
when,
no doubt.
When he's hot. He can make it from anywhere.
Every kid wants to grow up to be Steph Curry, right?
Yeah, every time I play basketball, I'm always like Curry 3. Curry, because before
I'm one of a dying few who still says Kobe. I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Before it's Kobe.
It's blending in now.
Well, that's the thing is you had the Jordan shot, then the Kobe. Now you have that Curry shot, right?
Yeah.
And the Curry's like deep three, beyond, like half court. You know, you're developing half court shot because you never know. You might want to take a couple of those during the game.
Yeah.
And you saw in the All-Star game, people were hitting those long 3-pointers. Now Curry's pushing that line where people want to take threes. Where before we're like, that's a bad shot, but now Curry's made that a good shot.
Are we done on basketball? I know we got a couple.
Well,
more
I wanted to
highlights.
ask Sports Lock real quick about Boston real quick, because I know Boston has a lot to prove over the second half part of the season, especially if they expect to get Gordon Hayward back in March, which is just, a couple weeks away. What do you really think the type of team you guys have with Gordon and without Gordon going into the playoffs?
Without him, I don't think anybody really knew what they had. And even, I believe it was Brad Stevens wasn't sure. He said we haven't played well a lot during the year. So I think the addition, bringing him back in March seems a little early, even from, a fan's perspective. I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to him. But they got a much better chance. They're bigger up front. They'd be solid against some other teams. They don't match up so great with Cleveland right now that they made all their moves. So, I think they got a much better chance. It's been a crazy year without him, the way they came out strong. And
even though you guys had him for like 3 minutes.
Break.
All of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
5 minutes up there. But I wouldn't want to rush him back, but he would definitely help.
I think you should. I think you guys should rush him back. The only thing is
it helps with the identity of the team, obviously. But yeah, you're right. They want to.
I don't think he should. I mean, you want to, of course, you'd love to have a player of Gordon Hayward's caliber out in the court at all times. But if you're risking a potential re-aggravation or another injury on top of that, give him the time that it takes to develop. I say, don't try and rush him back, especially from a injury as gruesome as his. You want the guy on the floor, of course, but you don't want to possibly re-injure him, or God forbid get another more serious injury. I think I don't know about you. I'm not a Boston Celtic fan, Sports Log, but I am a basketball fan. So I like Gordon Hayward. He was on my fantasy team.
Remind me, Butler.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
Butler.
I saw
Yes.
that's
with Brad Stevens. Yes,
but
he came.
That's
came
the
to play
game
for
I
us.
went to.
You
I
were
was
at the Butler
that
game.
Final Four.
Oh,
We
yeah.
barely almost made that
Great
last
game.
shot.
Oh my God! So here's the problem when you see anything live, is you see it live, and it's like, what just happened? Did that rim? It's like instant replay. No, there's no instant replay here. That was we. I hate to say it, but my family. Shout out to my son Dave, but we call Duke puke in my house. So
Hate him or love him. Hate him or love him.
Hate him or love him.
Hate him or love him.
And
Yep.
we
Sports
almost
fans.
saw the most epic change of event, and Brad is so cool. Don't you love watching him on the court? I mean, so
He's so composed. Like
I-
he looks like he came out of a.
he's
a
not gonna. He's
runway.
never gonna get thrown out for a technical.
Right.
The guy has composure.
Composure.
He leads in a way that's very respectful. He came from a very, very small school, but yes, that's what I thought. That was the game I was.
Yes. Yeah. So I
Boom.
mean,
Cool. Boom.
they
for
finally
me.
a great
finally
game.
linked back up. They linked back up this year, and in all of 3 minutes, Gordon Hayward goes down with that serious injury.
Yes.
And whereas before there was no possibility of him coming back, or we weren't even talking about it. Now he's progressing so fast that it's like, okay, maybe if at this rate, okay, it's like, I get it. Maybe if at this rate, yes, but let's not push the guy to the point where it's like, okay, man, you're now, you're projected to be back by March, so you got to be back by March. It's like, let him go on his natural progression. Bring him back. We don't need
Healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
healthy. We have so many.
Not only
talented
that, but
players that keep
it's
going
one
down.
thing to be like physically 100, and you seen this with like Jabari Parker coming back,
mentally being
right? Mentally being there, like you haven't seen that flash. I mean, you saw it
in
in
practice,
right,
getting those laps.
in the last game. You saw a little bit of it, but it's like you got to give people time to slowly come back, because if he has that pressure, okay, I'm coming back and going straight into that atmosphere of the playoffs.
Yeah, the Lions den of
Right.
playing teams who are battling for their playoff lives. They're not going to be taking it easy on you because you just got back on the floor from a 5-6 month injury that should have been closer to a year almost. I believe.
how long did it take Paul George to come back after he had that injury with Team USA?
He didn't come back
Because
the whole season.
he got it during the summer,
Yeah.
so he probably took the
He
whole
didn't-
year
he-
off.
Over
he-
12
Yeah,
months.
he didn't come back because he had no reason to come back.
Yeah,
Indiana
I mean, it was
they weren't
Indiana.
going to make the playoffs. Yeah, with Hayward, it's a whole different
Championship
conversation. Yeah, they're championship caliber with him at this point. They're the only thing that's stopping LeBron in the East.
Jaylen Brown, Tatum, that they need to develop. Tatum showed signs of being a rookie, but they
Hit
both
the
showed,
wall hard.
Right.
That guy's like circling around right now.
Right, we were all in love with Tatum just before the Christmas break.
right. He was in the rookie of the year, discussion.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Please. All right, fellas, we're going to take a quick break. This is the Sports Lounge Live. I'm your host and moderator. I'm WDC. Again, we want to thank you for listening in. We'll take it back. Like I said, we'll be right back in a second. Twitter, Instagram, the Sports Lounge Live. Any questions, anything you want to comment on, 323-473-3100. We still have a conversation about our guest who was supposed to appear today. We got some news for you on that, but we're still going to have that conversation because we have Marsha in the building who's a Sparks fan. So we're going to talk about that subject anyway, all right, whether she comes here or not. So this is the Sports Lounge Live. I'm your host and moderator. Shout us out. What's the count?
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.
Cali Sportsman, WDC, is now on your radio. Coming live from the Bay, yeah, that way. They talk sports all day, LA. Dropping knowledge, high school, college, trying to score, play by play. NFL, NBA, NHL, that's right, you name it. They gon' bring it to you live. Talking sports and entertainment, from the famous and the, you name it. Cover all sports, from the football field to the basketball court. Thanking y'all for y'all support. Now tell a friend to tune in every Monday at 5. Best believe they going live at the lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down. Got the latest in sport news and the greatest interviews at the lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down. Got the latest in sport news and the greatest interviews. We at the lounge. The Sport Lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down. The Sport Lounge. The Sport Lounge. Yeah, that's where it all go down.
All right, welcome back. This is the Sports Lounge Live. I'm your host and moderator. I'm WDC. Again, make sure you check us here on Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific time on LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk. We're talking about a lot of this past weekend highlights from the All-Star Week, and, you know, everybody's got their points of view on that subject and changing of the teams and transfers and all kind of, different things that go on in the world of sports, whether you're following your player or you're following your team.
Right.
And where does that dedication really take its place at? And so we were scheduled to have a person, Cappy Pondexter, who is new to the Sparks here the coming season. And so we had invited Marsha, who is, as you can see, has a shirt on, if you can't tell.
It was our championship shirt.
And it had to be the championship shirt. Of course, the championship.
She was setting the expectation.
2016.
She was setting the expectation from what she got here. Like this is the expectation.
Yes,
this is what we shoot
oh,
for.
Man,
So Cappy, when you watch this episode here, you're gonna see that we had a fan here specifically for you to talk to you about your coming to Los Angeles. So maybe we'll reschedule that another time.
Season ticket holder.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a
hopefully.
season ticket holder at that.
Not just for the Sparks.
She gonna be seeing you a lot.
Well, so Cappy, I'll be looking for you, girl. I'm saying, we have a great team. We were one game short of winning a back-to-back.
Right.
All right. For people that have never been to women's basketball, I so recommend you doing this.
The vibes.
That series with Minnesota's are even NBA players say they watch the game, and so I don't think enough people believe them. But I've gone with my brother the last couple of years. We've gone to a couple of Sparks games, taken our niece, and it's really a different kind of basketball because they don't have obviously the athleticism but the passing.
Wait.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
Back it up. Back it up.
Okay, they not every one of the women have the just natural athleticism.
He's digging such a hole here,
I don't believe
you're
so.
Gonna get
I don't believe it. I just think there's certain things that. Okay, yeah. See now.
Here, let me jump in and help him out. What are you trying to say? Because I know what you mean.
Okay,
I know what you mean.
How should I have said it? Let's see.
Well, okay. I don't know how you should
You
said
don't
it.
have to make it politically correct. I'm going to
Well, of course.
challenge you.
well, the thing is, some women out there, of course, there's the Candace Parkers, Maya Moore. I mean, you got Greiner, the other girls, Brittany. I mean, there's some great basketball female talent there.
Sue Bird.
But there's
Diana
some
Taurasi.
that they don't look like they should be in there.
No, that's not what I was saying.
Well, I mean, there's some that are not that.
No, that's
well, I mean,
even worse than what I was going to say. Then I think I might as well just.
I'm trying to help out here. That's not my
I
topic.
might as well just make my statement then. What I was going to say is that in the
Take it
NBA,
back.
we see the slam dunk contest, and of course we know that there are women who can dunk. It's just not.
Sorry, I'm
It's
on
not as
camera.
practical and for their style of play. It's more.
It's
more
a finesse game.
It's a finesse. That's what I was going to say.
Yes,
It's
it is a
crisper
finesse game.
passes.
Yes.
It's much more thought out shots. It's a lot of passing the ball around.
Mhm.
I remember I saw one of my favorite plays from yesterday from the All-Star game was when out of an inbound pass, nobody dribbled the ball. They just passed it amongst each other. And within 4 passes, LeBron James had an open shot underneath the basket. He didn't dunk it. He just tapped it in.
Right.
And it was like, wow. You look at it and your eyes just go boom, 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 basket in. Whoa. It's not dribbling. They're not dribbling out the clock.
But they're great shooters as
Of
well.
course,
They're
but
amazing
it's
shooters.
not as many ISOs. You don't see as many ISOs where they're calling everyone off and it's like, let me get a one-on-one right here. No.
Well, let me ask you this. So are you saying that every NBA player is a natural
No,
dunker?
I'm not saying every NBA player can dunk. I'm just
Right.
saying the ratio that we see.
Absolutely.
You don't see you can go to a WNBA game all year
Mhm.
and you might never see a dunk in a game. You might in practice you'll see him in practice,
Right.
but during the live game you might not see it, and it's just one of those things.
Well, you also have a height difference here,
Right,
too.
which is what I'm saying. That
Yeah.
it's
And
it's
that's-
There's a
natural.
lot of things
Yeah,
that are different about
It
women's
is.
basketball.
It
The
is.
ball is smaller.
Right, so that's what I'm
The
saying. There's a
court
natural
is not as wide.
right.
There are a lot of things that are different, but I
So
guess
it makes it.
I like what you said. Just physical attributes. Like, how are you gonna blame a person for, like you said,
well, you're
not
not blaming. I get
No,
it.
not blaming,
I'm
but
just- I'm
but
just-
people point
You,
that out.
you know.
People point that out a lot. They focus on the dunking, but it's like, okay, you take the dunking aside and you just look at basketball skills and players.
I
like,
respect
right.
respect it.
They
I respect it. I respect
Candace
it. I
Candace
respect-
Parker can ball.
Ball.
Oh, CP3. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Kobe. We were there.
She
we
will
were there-
ball
yeah,
up
we
some
were there
NBA
one
players
game, I
for
think,
sure.
Where Kobe was there with his. Oh, no, it wasn't Kobe. Chris Paul was there with his daughters. But we've seen him on TV where Kobe is sitting there front row
Oh,
with his
yes.
daughters. Watching CP3 ball out.
Ball.
Well,
You
you
know,
know that women's basketball has meant so much to the younger generations. You know, they really now these young women that are in junior high school, they're being followed just the way boys are.
Right.
They're being recruited,
Yes.
and they're getting scholarships to play. You know,
UConn. Like,
I was
that's the
going to
goal.
say, Pat Summitt, rest her soul.
Tennessee.
I would like to think that people, whether they're male or female, know who Pat Summitt
Pat
is.
Summitt is one of the greatest from Tennessee.
Exactly.
Over 1,000 wins, right?
Well,
in college.
so, you know, so I think to me, if you are a fan of the sport, my husband, we went to the game, and you know, he always felt that it was the same thing. It was a finesse game. It's a dance. I've always thought that basketball is a dance. I think basketball players in general are dancers. You go to
Right.
a high school game, you know, and it's a
the
dance.
choreography in the women's
It's-
game is a lot more precise than in the men's game. Though. That's all. It's finesse.
Fun to watch.
It is.
And you know, we've had some really exceptional coaches come through the Sparks. I think this is our 22 years. We're going into our 22nd season.
Yeah, there was Michael Cooper was
Michael
the coach.
Cooper. Kobe's dad, Jellybean, was a coach.
See,
Worthy was a coach. You know, we've had a lot of different people come through. Christine Simmons was actually a guest on my show my first season. She's the COO of the Sparks. So I think that they offer entertainment. And if that's
Definitely.
what you're looking for,
oh man,
Definitely.
if
it
that's
is.
what you're looking for, and frankly, I would love it so much if we could start putting some butts in the seats, because it really is exciting to watch. It's affordable. It's a family environment,
Right.
and it's
Yep.
competitive. And I love our team. We
It's
have
so
a
it's so much
fabulous
fun.
team.
He's right. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I
Aside from
had
the basketball,
2 years
there's
season
there's
tickets
no
there.
there's no breaks, because during when they're not playing, the DJ goes on. He starts
Don't
blasting the
start me
music.
about that.
You
you don't like it. You don't like it.
I'm
no.
old. Well, let me just say, there's a place for karaoke everywhere.
Oh God.
Not while the ball is bouncing down
God,
the
no.
court.
Oh,
Not
wow,
no,
during
that's
the
what I said.
game?
No. I say I didn't I say when the ball
Yes, you did.
when the ball stops, right?
I
I
love
do
it
not
then.
agree. I do not agree with them blasting music, you know, through
Wow.
while they're playing the game. I
Wow.
mean, some arenas do that. I know even in the NBA
They do
it.
not as much,
But
but yes, he really brings an enormous enjoyment. You can see it because everybody's on jumbotron.
that's
Kids
what it is.
love it.
The kids
Everybody's
love it.
lip syncing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got the old school women
The-
that are that
our-
are 50
our
plus.
high
years
Oh, the
old.
dance team. Yeah.
Our high school guidance counselor is actually on
on the
we
squad.
saw her
I
on this
probably know who that is then. You know, so they're-
Rochelle Hall.
it's absolutely. So it's their entertainment value.
Yeah.
If you
It's
love
really
the
good.
sport, it's worth it.
They have
And
the
you-
little kids dance, and then they have the old school.
kids. Oh, it's
Yeah, right.
great.
I'm telling you, it's so much
It's
fun.
so
Before
much
you know
fun.
it, it's
We
fourth
got
quarter.
a caller. We got a caller. Caller,
Oh.
you're live on Sports Lounge Live. 323.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh, what's up? What's
City
up?
Here.
What's happening?
What's going on? Just wanted to talk a little baseball real quick, if you got a minute.
Yeah, what you got for
Sure.
us?
Yeah, so I saw Eric Hosmer signed a 8-year, $144 million deal with the Padres. That's a huge contract. I think that the Padres are trying to gain some relevance. He's only 28, so they figure, we try to rebuild around him and Will Myers in the middle of that lineup. The problem is that the NOS has gotten so much better.
Oh yes.
We were
Look at
the
Fredo's
best
face.
division in the National League with 3 playoff teams.
Look at
And
that face.
now you can count the Giants back in it with the additions that they've made. So
Yep.
I think
They had
that
an offseason.
like it's a cute little deal,
No
Oh,
right?
pitching.
But it's like
He said
they
cute
weren't
little
going to
deal.
be competitive in the West anytime soon.
Yeah,
Anyways,
they got taxed
So-
like 20 million just for being in San Diego. Like, the Padres add another 20 million to my contract just to make me go out
Wow.
there. So
Fredo, what's the face, man?
Well,
What's
the face is just it's an awful deal. I don't know if you really want to build around that guy specifically. I mean, even though another contract thing, he has an opt out after 4 years, I believe it was. So after his 4th year, he has a player
Yeah.
opt out. But at the same time, I don't really think.
Also,
I mean, because the West is crowded already. I mean, right now they're the fifth. They're the fifth
What was
seed
the-
in our West.
what was the last player they had that was big signing? Wasn't it Matt Kemp? And how did that work out?
he's back at the Dodgers spring
Oh,
training.
yeah,
Like,
Matt
Right,
Kemp.
but
Yeah.
they gave him like
full
100.
circle. Come full circle. I think JD Martinez,
Yeah.
my guy, goes to Boston. I'm a Diamondbacks fan. I root for small market they're not that small market, but they have a small market budget. They weren't going to sign this guy to the contract that he wanted. You know, the only good thing for me, I guess, is that he's off to the Red Sox, who I hate the Yankees, so I like the Red Sox by default. And if the Red Sox can beat the Yankees, then they'll go off to the World Series and hopefully stop the Dodgers from winning their World Series. So, I mean, that's some sort of consolation for me. You know,
Marsha,
JD Martinez,
let me tell
my
you
guy.
something, Marsha.
Much love to you. I love those 4 home runs.
I saw that reaction. I saw that reaction, Marsha. First of all, I'm not sure if he told you he's a Diamondback fan.
She just heard me right now. I was
That's a snake, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a snake.
I was
we
at
got
the
the
game.
snake at the end of the table.
At the game where this guy shot 4 home runs against the Dodgers. It was amazing. You never see it in your lifetime, probably, unless you're lucky enough to go.
And you will see him hit another home run with the
Marsha,
Diamondbacks.
what was that face?
That was a face like the D-backs. Okay, fine. I don't want to tell you how my son calls that team. But you probably know.
I already know.
You already know.
My friend, yeah, you can. Everybody figure it out. Switch one letter out. It's a very easy way to make.
One thing I do remember was the 3-0 sweep that the Dodgers had on them this past playoff. But of course, we don't want to get into that because I know.
Oh yeah, and how about Cody Bellinger showing back up at home in Arizona and just bombing them and knocking them out in clean sweep?
Cody, the golden sombrero guy, the guy with the 2 golden sombreros in the World Series.
Hey, believe it or not, Cody Bellinger. Hey, he gained some weight, he gained some power.
He needed that.
So that's another thing, and another thing about Matt Kim. Matt Kim lost 40 pounds.
Him and Seager are so young.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
What was his? Corey
Seager is still young.
Yeah, still young.
Oh yeah, of course.
He's agreeing with you. He's agreeing with you.
No, I didn't hear it. I heard something else.
I was like, he made the face again.
I was like, wait, what? With you. Don't make me make that. Let's make the Fredo face, because every time I hear something ugly, I mean, even the Jimmy Garoppolo thing from last week was just another awful thing for the Niners.
That face. You gotta look at
He
that
brought up
face.
Jimmy G.
Yeah, I brought Jimmy G. Don't make me bring up Paul Pierce. Don't make me bring up Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce over Reggie Miller any day.
Marsha, real quick, you're an LA person. Let's get this question.
Paul Pierce. What are you talking about? He's Inglewood guy.
Okay,
Thank you.
Paul Pierce, who's a better player overall, I guess. Who would you want to build? If you get one choice, you get Paul Pierce.
Who had the greater
or
career?
Reggie Miller. Not a greater career, but who do you want to build off of? If you get one pick, you get the first pick. Who do you want to start with?
Reggie Miller.
Thank you.
Ooh,
Reggie Miller's the guy to go with.
Yeah,
Right.
just based on his athleticism.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Marsha.
Even though Paul Pierce is just down the
He's
street.
fit for this game.
Yeah, I guess now. I guess he's fit for it now. But when you said it, you called him the greatest player. You said you read an article.
Not the greatest player.
What you said was that you read an article where somebody wrote that he was the greatest player to come out of L.A.
Yeah, Paul Pierce was the guy.
And I said, of course, because went to Inglewood, High School, and he played for the Celtics.
But he went to Kansas.
Right, but Reggie Miller grew up in Riverside.
Y'all
can deal with
this on social media.
Okay,
We
next
out of
thing.
here. The
All right,
time is
thank
over.
you. Time out.
The show's over.
Show's over.
Marsha,
Not the
thank
lights.
you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming out here.
Well,
Really.
you know
Marsha,
what?
Marsha,
I'll come back
Marsha.
I'll come back during the season. We can bring some Sparks players in. And
Definitely.
We can
Wow,
talk about
nice.
women's
Definitely. And
basketball.
let
I'd
them know
love
when
to.
your show is, Marsha.
So my show is on every Monday from 1 to 2. It's called the Born to Talk radio show. I'm the host, Marsha Wietecha, and I'm having a lady from Inglewood that's going to be joining me next week named Belinda Baker. So,
Boom.
yeah, so I love what I do. I've been doing it for 3 years. So thanks for inviting me. To join
Yes,
us.
thanks for
We
being
need,
here.
we need Christy Tolliver. That's one of my girls.
Oh my
Christy.
God, Christy! I died when she went.
Yeah.
I loved Christy Tolliver.
She was a great player. One of the players that she standed out to me watching the Sparks over the past 2 years.
This is what happens.
Christy.
All right. So,
Okay.
again, thanks for listening in. Sports
Just wanna
Fanatics
throw
in
it
here
out
in the
there.
building. And again, thanks for tuning the caller. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate you as well. Catch us next week right here on LA Talk Live. We're more than just talk. Shout us out. What's the count?
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.